Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And of course, taped live the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. WrestleMania Backlash is in the books. We've got one title change in the form of the first ever father-son WWE Tag Champions. In this case, Rey Mysterio, Dom Mysterio,
Dominic Mysterio, yeah.
New tag champions. Otherwise, we had zombies. We had an amazing monster match between Drew McIntyre, Bob Lashley, and Braun Strowman. And the head of the table, Roman Reigns, retains in clean fashion his WWE Universal Championship. Solid show, if not, the best, but I thought it was solid.
It was a solid show. I wasn't huge on, the zombie stuff, whatever. I wasn't huge on it, but if people are,
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. To each their own.
It made me laugh.
The only complaint really about it was just how completely and utterly predictable it was. It'd been nice to have, if it made sense for the stories they're telling, would have been nice to have something take us by surprise. Something to for not everything to go as completely expected. Yeah, it's a minor quibble because it was an enjoyable show nonetheless.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean,
it's just the sorry, go ahead.
It's WrestleMania Backlash, and it's like, what purpose does this show really serve? I guess it's just meant to sort of tie up loose ends. I mean, there are some, if you think about it a little bit. Really, Dom and Rey probably should have won those tag titles at WrestleMania. That probably would have been a big moment there.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte obviously should have been at WrestleMania. So this sort of feels like WrestleMania leftovers, It
kind of does.
It served that purpose, I guess.
It did, kind of. I know. And it's just Backlash has a reputation going back a number of years of kind of being a bit of a nothing show in terms of giving us unexpected turns or storyline progression or title changes. So it'd have been nice if they had bucked that trend and just kind of surprised us with something.
Last year had a last year that was pretty surprising. Last year had a pretty decent hook but then it was also out of order. Yeah. Because Money in the Bank was the first one after WrestleMania.
Well, now that you mention out of order, they did announce during the course of the show that Hell in Cell is not happening in October. It's happening next month. I believe June 20th is the date, which would mean Money in the Bank is not announced, but has probably been pushed maybe to, if the reports from the Matman podcast that is true, that WWE's looking to get back on the road July 16th. Maybe they'll have Money in the Bank that weekend with fans there, because I could see why that'd be a huge deal. It may not be SummerSlam, but it's Money in the Bank. It's usually a pretty anticipated pay-per-view.
Money in the Bank is one of my favorites because of the unpredictability. You got, a new person. Hopefully they'll get it right this year and not put it in the hands of an Otis type. But yeah, no, Money in the Bank, there's obviously been plenty of times when, you'll get a cash in during the show.
That's got to be a guarantee this year.
You would think that if they're determined to put that in front of fans, that's why they have that on tap.
Edge wins Money in the Bank, cashes in on Rome.
Or on Bobby Lashley. There's Edge doesn't have to be on SmackDown. At this point, my mantra is I'm not betting against Roman. But maybe that's the thing about stacking Edge is, okay, hey, you're going to get yours come Money in the Bank.
Yeah, he's motivated by that utter humiliation.
Total and complete humiliation. So yeah, that's interesting. They're shuffling the deck a little bit. Dude, I think that Hell in a Cell would be a perfect place for Jimmy and Jay to settle this beef. Jimmy's going to take the loss and acknowledge Roman. What do you think? What do you think that's going to happen?
Probably. And then he's going to be, I know Jay at first was fairly unwilling to align himself with Roman, but seemingly now he's been broken down enough mentally that he's a more than willing participant in whatever Roman's got going on. If Jimmy is forced to align himself with Roman, I hope part of it is he's doing so just in an effort to rescue his brother, to pull his brother out of that. And maybe part of that is as he mentioned on SmackDown this past Friday is, well, if we're tag champs and you lose the title, doesn't that make us head of the table? It was a situation where they win the tag titles in Rome. If Edge cashes in on Roman, and he loses the Universal title,
that's a pickle. That's a pickle right there.
And that's an interesting story they could tell. So
that's an insanely interesting story they can tell. That seems like it should. I mean, given that they referenced when Jimmy came back, Hell in a Cell, and what happened there, and if Jimmy's opportunity to get Jay out of the clutches of Roman is to face his brother at Hell in a Cell, do you think it would be Jimmy versus Jay? Sounds great. Although, because Jay is broken, would it be Jimmy versus Roman, or would it be Jimmy versus Jay?
I don't know if they. I guess to a certain degree, it make more sense for Jimmy versus Roman.
Well, Jay, as you pointed out, yeah, you could say, well, if Jay wants to get away from Roman, he could just lay down. But Jay is broken. Jay thinks that Roman is the way, and it's great. Yeah. I pointed this out during the stream, and it's probably just a happenstance of nature because we all get older. But it's noticeable the amount of gray in Jay's beard versus Jimmy's beard. And I wish, and it's probably not because I'm probably looking too much into it, how great would it be if Paul Heyman was like, hey, start adding a little bit of gray to your beard just once a month.
Yes, the stress that you put yourself under. I know.
How great would that be?
That'd be pretty great. Yeah, no, I think Jay is going to be, on Roman's side up until the point where he has to have some sort of epiphany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And realize, okay, no, I've just been completely and totally used this entire time. My brother, he's actually there for me. And then they turn their back on Roman.
Well, there's some validity to the idea that Jimmy berating Jay and even pointing out facts to him is not going to cause Jay. It's going to cause Jay to entrench even more in this thing. I mean, there is a psychological thing there.
Yep.
That is true, and it's fascinating. I wonder how much, if Paul Heyman is the creative behind this, if he's looked into that. But no, I don't know. I think it's solid stuff if Jimmy and Jay go to Hell in a Cell, or if Jimmy and Roman. I mean, that's probably going to be matched. Boy, I don't know. That's a tough one. It is
a toss-up.
If I'm the booker, do you put Roman there, or do you just roll with the more interesting story, which is brother versus brother? That's a tough one.
I mean, I guess there's a way that if they build to it right, they could have their cake and eat it too. They can make it a triple threat.
Like a triple threat? That could be.
And then Roman essentially puts Jay in the position. All right, who are you going to choose? Me or him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and talk about this for the friendos out there. The Steve Notes are available if you're a member of our Friendo Club TV membership on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steven Larson. Or if you throw us a Twitch sub at twitch.tv/Steven Larson. Or, of course, if you become a YouTube channel member, you can just check the community tab for the members only selections there, and they show up there. I just want to see real quick if we got any new patrons here. This past week, we had Morgan Smith, and about a week ago, we had JTV08. Before that, Thomas Austin Jr. and Michael Connor. Thank you very much for your support. We definitely appreciate it. Go to the Patreon, check out the reward tiers. We got a comic book, a Steven Larson comic book. You can check out all sorts of bonus content, all sorts of good stuff over there on the Patreon. We opened up because this WrestleMania was brought to you by the upcoming Army of the Dead, the new Zack Snyder zombie flick, starring one Dave Bautista. Bautista himself narrated the opening video package.
Well, we could recap the kickoff show match where
that's
Sheamus
right,
comes out and issues an open challenge, not for the U.S. title, but if anybody wants to come out and take him up on his opportunity to face him, not for the title, do so. Ricochet answers the open challenge. I won't get into heavy details here. The finish saw Sheamus avoid a 630, goes for a brogue kick. Ricochet evades that, rolls up Sheamus, gets a 2 count, and then Sheamus just hits like a running knee for the win. Doesn't even hit his finish.
Yeah, and then while he was celebrating afterwards, Ricochet attacked him and put on his hat and jacket. So you know what, man? Whatever. If it gets Ricochet, maybe. Hey, Well, they'd said, I think the report was Carrillo was fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're just bringing Ricochet up to Raw for some matches with Sheamus. Mix it up with Carrillo. I don't know.
Maybe.
Hopefully we'll see that. He's been on Main Event with Ali lately. Then we had the Batista narrated opening package, which combined wrestlers and zombies, but not for the last time tonight. We started off with the Raw Women's Championship match, Asuka versus Charlotte versus the champion Rhea Ripley. As I sort of predicted, adding Charlotte to this match really sort of added to the chemistry, because 2 out of 3 matches between Rhea and Asuka just were not all that great. The third one on Raw was a decent enough match. They seemed to get their chemistry a bit better. But
this felt up a lot with Charlotte there.
This felt a lot more like, a pay-per-view-esque match.
I mean, you can make the
story
case,
beats. Yeah.
Yeah, make the case that this probably should have been the Mania match.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I was saying that during the stream as well. Yeah.
And you up until day of, I was still half expecting Charlotte to be put into the Mania match, make it a triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen. Did tonight, though. Early on, Asuka and Rhea are trying to corner Charlotte, and they kind of, hit some double team offense on her a little bit, and they turn and start fighting each other. That goes on and off for a little bit. Eventually, we get a square off between Charlotte and Rhea. I got to say, this is the first time on the main roster Rhea Ripley's looked like Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Ever since she got the real call-up 2-3 weeks before Mania, like from the character perspective, it doesn't feel like in any way, it's not unusual for this to happen, any way consistent to how she was acting in any way in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Like the matches were fine, but she's capable of putting on really good fun matches. We've seen plenty of them. But this is like the first time she's really felt like, what we saw in NXT on the main roster. There's a lot of great back and forth here. We just kind of get towards the end. They're in the ring.
There was like a big Tower of Doom spot on Charlotte, and then the
Do you want to talk about Charlotte trying to double pin him?
She did. That's right. I forgot to
double natural selection and try. She didn't stack them. She moved them right next to each other and pinned them both.
She draped herself over them and tried to pin them both, and they both kicked out at 2. I thought that was pretty rad.
So towards the end, Charlotte misses a moonsault. Asuka hits her with a code breaker. Rhea looks for a riptide. Asuka escapes that. She's looking for an Asuka lock. And then while Rhea's trying to get out of that, Charlotte looks to boot Asuka. Asuka gets out of the way. Rhea eats the kick. So this was weird. This is really weird. So Charlotte's on the apron. Asuka goes running towards her to knock her off, and Charlotte gets her boot up. Mm-hmm. Kicks Asuka towards the middle of the ring. Rhea hits Riptide. We're expecting Charlotte to just dive right in there, break up that pin. Instead, pinfall's counted. We're like, what the heck? Charlotte was just on the apron. And it wasn't until after the pinfall was counted that we see Charlotte's on the floor. And Corey Graves has to kind of make up that story beat, cover for it, by saying, oh, Charlotte was knocked off the apron during the kick.
Well, yeah, I think he just illustrated what TV missed.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It was just a little bit of confusing television direction that they probably should have got before the match went on. But yeah, unfortunately, either a cameraman was not in position, or the cameraman that was in position to catch the boot was like too close up for us to see her fall after the boot.
Or as a situation where the whoever's directing the show just said the bup, and just going to get that shot.
When you're trying to cut 3 times in a second, that could be difficult to catch.
That could be difficult rather than just one good frame where you get it all.
Yeah, right. So anyways,
all the
like
information you need to tell the story. Because otherwise, like, the finish is confusing. Like Charlotte was just right there.
Yeah, I know. It would have made perfect sense if you just had a wide angle on it all,
Yeah, I know. But so Rhea successfully retains.
Mm-hmm.
No Alexa Bliss, kind of surprising.
Yeah. That's another thing that I was actually pretty happy about, is that there wasn't, these were all clean finishes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the zombies one was weird, but that's sort of the outlier here. So anyways, after that we had, I thought it was a solid match though. After that we had Miz and Morrison backstage. They were talking strategy. Morrison said he's going to go chat up the Lumberjacks because and get them all on Miz's side, because Johnny Drip Drip can be pretty convincing sometimes.
Be very persuasive. Yes.
Yeah.
Then we cut to earlier during the kickoff show where Dolph and Bob Roode are giving Dom some crap backstage. They beat him up and dump a couch on him.
Yeah, a bunch of jerks these guys are.
Yeah, so we go to the trainer's room. Dom is getting checked out by the trainers. He's not cleared. Ray says, hey, we'll fight another day. I've got this. So Ray is going to go it alone to try to win these tag titles.
Yeah, man. So after that, we had Rey Mysterio versus the Dirty Dawgs. And, of course, Ray holds his own to start that match. Not too long before the Dirty Dawgs take over, though, they start working Ray's leg. Man, they did some really cool stuff to Ray here. There was an assisted famouser where, like, Rude sort of holds up Ray, wheelbarrows him.
That was great.
That was cool. There was another one. Rude throws Ray, he slides him to the floor, but as he's, like, leaving the ring, like, he eats a super kick from Dolph. That was pretty
great.
cool. So that Ray barely beats a 10 count on that particular sequence. He comes back and hits them with, like, a double DDT. Sends Rude into the post, so he sort of comes alive, and sure enough, around then, Dom comes out. Unfortunately, they did not tape him up with some Lex Luger rib tape, but nonetheless, he comes milling about. After that, we had Ziggler hitting a zigzag on Ray for 2, so Ray keeps on kicking out of pretty much everything, getting little bits of offense in. He gets a super bulldog on Bobby Roode. Ray finally gets the hot tag in on Dom. Rude kind of almost immediately gets a spine buster on Dom, though.
Yeah.
Then Dolph and Rude double team him, but the entire time he's in there, he's not. He's kicking out, and Ray has time to power back up, and eventually he gets tagged back into Ray. Eventually, Ray hits a 619 on Rude, I think, and then takes out Dolph on the outside, gives him a barricade, sunset flip.
Bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, barricade bomb. And then Dom goes up, hits Eddie Guerrero, his dad's frog splash for 3, and we've got new tag champions, father and son. Not since John Quincy Adams and John Quincy Adams Jr. have 2 men been tag team champions at the same time, Larson.
You're going back quite a ways in wrestling history there.
It's the old carnival days, man. It's the old carnival
So next, Morrison, he walks up to the Lumberjacks locker room, knocks on the door, opens it. It's filled with zombies. Understandably, he's a bit freaked out, and so he just walks away, leaves the door open. Zombies come out.
This really was, look, whether you're into it or not, it's a perfect spot for Morrison. Morrison is made to be a wrestler who fights zombies. He really is.
Yeah, in a lot of ways he is. Yes,
he's great.
It's almost a shame this match just wasn't John Morrison versus zombies. I would have been a lot more into it.
Right. Oh, I forgot to mention also, after the Ray and Dom match, Hey Kayla interviewed Ray and Dom, and Ray is very happy to have won the tag titles with his son. Didn't miss much there.
So after Morrison releases the zombies, Jimmy Uso, he's out front of Roman's locker room. He's pacing. He walks in. Jay's sitting there, and he wants to know where Roman's at. He says, he tells Jay, Roman wouldn't claim to be the head of the table without everything you do for him. And he's asked Jay again, why isn't your name on the door of the locker room? And he says, if we had our own locker room, it'd say Jay and Jimmy Uso. And he tells Jay to stop carrying Roman's bag. And then right about then, Roman steps in, and Jimmy just says, hey, good luck. You're going to need it.
Yeah. After that, we had the Damian Priest versus The Miz. Sure enough, the Lumberjacks are all zombies. They got the fog machine to roll the fog in. Commentary's freaking out. There's a zombie under the commentary desk all of a sudden. And then it's like, none of them try to get in the ring, even though they're zombies. They can't figure out the apron.
Yeah, they really do observe the rules of a lumberjack match quite well. Maybe to a fault, even.
I was trying to think, I was trying to think, maybe they didn't because the apron, of course, is wood. But even if it was in a cross, that's for vampires, not zombies.
Maybe it's a situation where they can walk, but they can't pull themselves up.
Well, there is some amount of, their brains are, messed up, so they can't, I don't know. Anyways, it wouldn't have served the match very well. Maybe they fall victim to
simply two-dimensional thinking.
That could very well be.
They can do this way, but not up and down.
Up and down is too much for them. It's too much.
They can't do that.
So anyways, one of the highlights of this match, of course, is Priest and Miz. They both sort of end up on the outside, and they have to team up for a moment to take out some of these zombie lumberjacks, which is pretty great. They dispatch of many of these lumberjacks. Of course, Morrison had bolted as soon as he saw the zombies. And so Miz and Priest eventually get back in the ring. Miz tries to get the high five, but then swerves Priest, but he's able to figure that out. Takes Miz out. Morrison comes back. He distracts Priest, who eats a spinning kick for 2. Then Morrison goes on his parkour anti-zombie raid.
It's the highlight of the match.
It was great. He's just taking out all these zombies. But then he gets up on top of the barricade to launch himself at some, and then 2 from behind him come and pull him down, and he's nowhere to be found after that. Yeah. Priest hits the lights on Miz for 3, and then after the match, the zombies
suddenly now the zombies know how to get in the ring, so apparently two-dimensional thinking isn't the issue.
Right, exactly.
They were just observing the rules.
So and then the zombies come in. They just devour Miz, and then Priest gets his his ghost arrow and shoots it at the ceiling Tron, and the Army of the Dead logo shows up. Pretty great stuff, but
it was pretty cheesy.
It was corny as hell.
Yeah,
but if any match, look, we all know what a lumberjack match is. We all know the tropes. This was different. It was, yes, horribly stupid, but hey, I was entertained the whole time.
I'll say this: I wasn't that into it, but it was well produced stupidity.
It was actually well produced. It was well produced.
It was stupid. It was cheesy, but it wasn't poorly put together.
Right, and it wasn't boring. And I'd much rather take that.
And it did overstay its welcome.
Boring. And you're right. It was a fairly quick match and got to its beats really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, the zombies go. They circle Miz, devour him, and then they're just gone.
It was like it was like a Cricket Wireless commercial, but for Army of the Dead,
But for that. 8 minutes long. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. After that, Hell in the Cell is announced for June 20th. I believe it's June 20th. Then Jay is backstage. He goes and finds his brother, and says Jimmy tells Jay that Roman could lose even with you in his corner, and says, hey, the sign on Roman's locker room should read Roman and his bitch.
Yeah, that's not the way to get that done, Jimmy. You're not gonna get the job done.
They're brothers. If Jimmy knows how to motivate Jay, or if he doesn't know how to motivate Jay, I don't know who would.
Yeah, totally. So after that, we had Bayley versus Bianca Belair. And this was just a really strong, 15-minute match, I guess. Bianca comes out strong. Bayley has to chill for a bit on the outside. Gets frustrated. Baits Bianca, starts wrecking her on the outside, takes her back in to beat the count because obviously she can't win the title that way. At one point, she pins Bianca near the ropes, and Bianca kicks out so hard Bayley flies out of the ring. Bayley does sort of a running slide out of the ring, but Bianca evades, and Bayley, eats shit basically.
It was a suicide dive. It was a suicide.
Oh, was that a suicide dive? I thought she slid
out. Suicide dive.
God,
no, it was a suicide dive, and Bianca got out of the way, and Bayley just landed right on the mat.
That was rough.
Yeah, it was rough.
And then Bianca slams her head on the apron before bringing her back in. Bayley tries for some cheating tight pins with her feet on the ropes and whatnot. The ref catches her. Bayley rakes the eyes of Bianca. She grabs her hair, hits a Bayley to belly with the hair on Bianca, gets 2 on that, goes for a rose plant, but Bianca's able to sort of evade that and counter it into a pin.
Well, the idea that she used her hair for leverage on the counter. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it was
early on. I think it was. Bianca tells Bayley, "Don't mess with my hair."
Yeah, it was a bit of a sloppy finish, but you get the idea of what they were doing. They probably went through it a million times and got it right. But
got it right every time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
After that, we had MVP promo. He was just talking about how Braun makes poor business decisions. He doesn't see the larger picture. However, Drew McIntyre does. But he knows the picture doesn't look good for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not concerned about this being a triple threat. It says Lashley will overcome any obstacle. He's just not a champion. He's just not the WWE champion. He's the almighty.
He is the almighty
WWE champion.
And then I got to say, match of the night was this next one, man. this was, oh my gosh, this was really good. And it was just exactly, what it needed to be. Just three monsters, just
taking chances and beating the hell out of each other.
Braun was the MVP of this match. There were times when this dude almost landed straight on his head doing crazy shit. Like that moment where he came off the apron when Drew and Bobby were going at it. Yeah. We had the whole Drew puts Bobby through the LED board and sparks come flying.
Great.
It started out with Bobby trying to team with Drew to take out Braun. And Drew kind of eventually feels like,
reluctantly did. Yeah.
There's no other choice. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, he's got a good point. Braun is the X factor here. He's the big monster. He wrecked both of us at the end of Raw last week. So let's go ahead and do this. Once they take out Braun, they go out on the outside, but that's when Braun comes off the apron and basically does a flipping senton into both of them. This was tons of fun. There was the LED screen bit. Drew claymored Braun over the barricade before that to sort of take him out of the match while him and Bobby go at it. Strowman comes to after Bobby is thrown to the LED screen. They battle, or he basically destroys Drew on the way back to the ring. Braun hits a senton on Drew and just lands with all of his weight.
Great.
Gnarly.
Highlight of the match might happen right after that. Sorry, is Drew evades Braun, charges him, and it hits the Michinoku driver.
Yes,
effortlessly. It was rad. Awesome.
It was kind of shocking, to be honest with you.
It was awesome. So then Braun dumps Drew out of the ring. He's looking for a shoulder tackle. Drew catches him, hits an overhead belly to belly, goes for a claymore. Braun catches him, then power bombs him through the announce table.
Yeah. That was rough.
They eventually get back in the ring. Drew hits Braun with the claymore. Lashley's had enough time to come to, gets back in the ring, tosses Drew out of the ring, hits Braun with the spear to get the win.
Yeah, it was a really, really well-booked match and a perfectly executed one. Pretty solid stuff. And, of course, with that match, Larson. Oh. Another pay-per-view down. 2 more to go before I become Ultimo.
As I said before we started, there was basically no way I was winning. Basically no way anybody was winning unless you just made a really boneheaded decision, and you didn't.
Yeah, so you say that as if it's not a possibility.
Well, you didn't, though. So congratulations. I still got the Going in Raw cup, though. So
look at that little cup right there. That's good.
It'd be much larger if it ever changed hands, but ever since I've had it, it's been right up here.
Wait, it would grow in size?
Well, the whole idea is like when it changes hands, you put something on it. Like I added this. I added the NWO.
I thought I put that on there. I didn't put that on there?
Well, I'm the one that physically glued it on.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is my super glue.
Well, that's good that you have that. That's good. 2 more title defenses. I'll have that New Japan, the IWGP. My Ultimo reign will begin. Very excited.
There's only one Ultimo on this T-shirt right here.
Oh, remember those days?
They'll be back again.
Oh,
they'll be back again. Then we got our main event: Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. So before the match begins, Jay is hyping up Roman at the gorilla position, and he basically just I think verbally and just with body language tells him to shut up.
Oh my gosh, he's just trying to hype him up.
That's
horrible. I felt so bad. He was like, "Come on, man, you can do this. You can do this." And Roman said, "Shut up." I don't know what he said because he said it so low.
Yeah, soft. But basically he says, "Go find your brother." Yeah. The idea being, I don't need you ringside. Go find your brother.
That was messed up.
I don't need you out here to win.
He
didn't. A pretty significant. No, he didn't. It was a pretty significant departure from Roman 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's emboldened after stacking Daniel Bryan and Edge. Confidence.
I would be too.
High.
I would be too.
I would be too if I stacked 2 Hall of Famers and pinned them.
Exactly.
So early on, Cesaro is frustrating Roman. He has to roll out of the ring to collect himself. Roman escapes a swing, tosses Cesaro to the floor, and Cesaro lands awkwardly on his shoulder.
Man, I just thought about that. Roman didn't even get swung in this match, did he?
Nope.
Has Roman been swung in the build?
No.
Wow.
I don't believe so.
Cesaro was swing. I know Cesaro swung both Jimmy and Jay, but did he swing?
I don't think so. I think he just hit Roman with the neutralizer last week.
Yeah. Man, unless
So
somebody in chat can correct us on that.
Yeah. So after getting tossed out of the ring, Cesaro's really selling arm. Roman goes right after it, takes control for a really extended period, just destroys his arm, which would come into play, of course, later. Cesaro would eventually mount some offense. He hits how do you knock him out of the ring? He knocked him out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he puts him in a sharpshooter. Roman gets the bottom rope, rolls out of the ring. Cesaro hits him with a corkscrew plancha. Then follows that up with a uppercut against the barricade, hits a fun splash off the top, gets a 2 count. Roman then goes right back to going after Cesaro's arm, hits a drive-by that sends Cesaro's shoulder into the ring post. And then he's working over Cesaro's arm and starts talking crap to Daniel Bryan.
His shit talk was great because he was cranking his arm and he was just looking into the camera saying, hey, DB, I'm having so much fun wrestling. I'm having so much fun. Oh, I loved it.
It was great.
Awesome.
So Cesaro's looking for a comeback. Roman kicks his bad arm. Cesaro responds with a huge clothesline with bad arm. Hits a deadlift superplex from the apron to the ring, gets a 2 count there. Cesaro's going right back. He goes after Roman's leg, looks for a neutralizer. Can't lift up Roman because of the bad arm.
Mm-hmm.
So Roman sinks in an arm bar. Cesaro reverses that to a roll up, gets a 2. Looking for a springboard uppercut. Roman counters that with a Superman punch. And then he goes for a spear. Cesaro counters that with an uppercut. He's going to go for a pop-up uppercut. His arm gives out. Roman locks in a guillotine. Cesaro powers him up, slams him, looks for a sharpshooter. Roman kind of fights it off. Plus, his arm's bad. Hits some ground and pound. Eventually does sink in a sharpshooter. Roman gets to the bottom rope. Is about to get to the bottom rope. Cesaro transitions to a crossface, and he rolls him back in the middle of the ring. Roman powers out of that. Hits some because of the bad arm. Hits some ground and pound. Deadlift powerbomb that gets him a 2. More ground and pound. Throws a forearm. Cesaro catches it, flings Roman kind of overhead, but in doing so, like Roman just like rolls through and gets a guillotine on again.
Yeah.
So Cesaro powers Roman up again, slams him again, except this time Roman keeps the guillotine on.
Yeah.
Cesaro is able to break it for like a second.
Yeah.
And then Roman locks it back in. He's trying to use his bad arm to undo Roman's grip. He can't. Passes out. Ref calls for the bell. Roman retains.
The ref was especially sort of paying
diligent,
close attention to the shoulders. Yeah, diligent.
Really diligent. Anytime someone had their shoulders down.
Because there was a lot of submission in this stuff,
But in spots where most refs just don't pay attention to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And it was obviously pretty deliberate here because there's so much submission stuff going on and he's checking for the shoulder. So it was a really terrific match. I think it was a little on the long side. Well,
I think part of it too was it was a matter of placement too, because that match that preceded it, the WWE title match, was such a barn burner.
That should have been the main event. It really should.
And so fast paced. When you have a meticulously told story like this, that it does feel like it could drag a little bit. I understand that feeling. I mean, I didn't necessarily feel like it dragged. I just felt like it was a matter of pacing between a match that was super fast paced with a bunch of stuff that you didn't expect them to do. I'd expect the Michinoku driver or Braun to jump off the barricade or the apron. I mean,
yeah, I think it was. I'll be honest. I do think it dragged for me because, for one thing, we all knew the outcome. We all knew the outcome.
But the journey, a part of the journey of this is establishing Cesaro as approaching the main event. I mean, Roman is in an entirely different league at this juncture. But in terms of building up Cesaro, in terms of someone who isn't just gonna eat a loss to Roman in 10 minutes, it speaks to his heart and his gumption.
Yeah. That being said, it still dragged. And I mean, the story, like, there's been matches like this with Roman where Daniel Bryan, number one, is a much more compelling storyteller than anybody else in wrestling. I mean, and so he could take a match like this, same amount of time, same story that's being told, and it ain't going to drag. The story here, to me, wasn't that compelling. It was a solid wrestling match. I thought Roman Reigns' shit talk really made it for me. But it sort of also it illustrated that Roman can hang even with the best wrestlers, and he just sort of looks down on that too. He's like, look at me, this is fun. Oh, we're wrestling now. And he can out wrestle people. And so, like, it's pretty compelling stuff in the larger sense, but yeah, I mean, part of it is placement, but also part of it, even if it came after a 2-minute squash match, I think it would have like still sort of dragged for me. But that's just my own predilection, it doesn't, if you enjoyed it, great. I still gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was a really good match, but
it was a good match. So after the match, Jay runs down the ring, recognizes Roman, head of the table. And he kind of looks at Cesaro and says, "Let me have him." Roman kind of nods. So Jay goes over, hits Cesaro with a super kick, follows him ground to pound, goes up top. Seth's music hit. Man, fantastic suit.
Oh my
Another
God.
fantastic.
It was beautiful.
It was fantastic. He had a shirt underneath that matched the blazer. It was awesome. And so he walks down the ring. He steps up to Roman. They're face to face. Then he just smiles. He laughs and just viciously goes after Cesaro. Roman and Jay just walk out. Seth takes Cesaro ringside, beats the heck out of him, gets a chair, beats Cesaro with that, sticks his arm between the backrest and seat of the chair, pins him against the ring post, and says to him, "Do you know who I am? I'm Seth Rollins. No one makes a mockery out of me." And then takes the chair and slams it and his Cesaro's arm into the ring post, followed with a stomp on the floor. Seth beat the hell out of him.
Let me ask you this. So I mentioned this, I think, during our pre-show. Seth facing off with Roman. Seems like they might go with Seth versus Roman at SummerSlam.
That would make sense.
Cesaro being here in the main event is going to be all for naught, because you know what that means. Seth's going to have to rack up wins on the road to SummerSlam. Cesaro's going to be number one. Unless this was meant to write Cesaro off for a couple weeks, but still, he's going to be, that's going to be a guy that Seth's going to beat on the road to Roman.
Potentially. They could have a match at Hell in a Cell.
I imagine Cesaro's going to probably fall back just the mid-card.
Entirely possible.
Tag champion again. Anyways.
But if, after this feud with Seth comes to an end and he falls down the mid-card, maybe at least he'll get some opportunities as a singles wrestler in the mid-card. Maybe he'll be in contention for that Intercontinental title.
He should be. I mean, when you look at him, look at Kevin Owens. Sami
Zayn.
Yeah, Sam. I mean, that's a killer. That's a killer division right there. So, hopefully that's going to be the situation. Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to see a 6-man ladder match with that division, including Cesaro? That'd be pretty great. We have a couple of questions here in the Twitch chat.
Yeah. Dr. Lipkin fills us in on the exchange between Roman and Jay, as does King CTM. Jay says, "We got this," and Roman says, "What do you mean we?" And then King CTM says, Jay said, "But what if?" I thought I caught that. And Roman says, like, "What if? You sound like your brother. Why don't you go find him?"
Let's see here. White Brownie says, with Backlash known as having one title change and Hell in a Cell being next, how many title changes do you see happening, and which titles? Well, I think, the Ray and Dom are not going to have those SmackDown titles very long, but it's probably going to be not till Money in the Bank or maybe SummerSlam till that happens. Nobody's going to take that title off Bianca anytime soon, although it would be interesting.
Drew could beat Lashley for the WWE title if this is a Hell in a Cell match.
That's a toss-up. That is a toss-up.
That could happen.
There. Yeah, that's a toss-up.
Because that rematch is happening. Rhea's not going to lose the Raw Women's title.
Rhea's future, because if Becky's back at SummerSlam, then Rhea's losing it at SummerSlam. But I feel like Becky being back, SummerSlam's probably the earliest she would be back.
Yeah. Jorge D, Stephen Larson, you each start having lucid dreams about living in the mid-20th century. You notice that you are living with a famous wrestling family. Using this knowledge, you try to explain that you are the reincarnation of a long-lost wrestling family member. Choose a wrestling family, and how do you convince them that you are their reincarnated ancestor?
So the mid-20th century, so from the 40s to the 60s at some point. Famous wrestling family. Like the Thezes? Was there more than one Thez? Bruno Sammartino and David Sammartino.
Yeah.
It's more like
I'm thinking maybe the Von Erichs, Sammartinos, the Ortons. Because I would guess that Randy Orton's grandfather probably wrestled around that time.
I think you're right, yeah.
The Harts, say I'm sure Stu Hart was wrestling back in the 50s.
Probably, yeah. How do you convince them that you are their reincarnated ancestor? I don't know that I could. I would say
you'd have to know details of such specificity.
Yeah.
That the rank and file wrestling fan would be completely unaware of.
I'm terrible at Quizlemania. I don't know any of that stuff. So yeah, I don't know about all that. I don't know either. Profound Magician, with how strong Roman has been booked, do you see anyone being built up to beat him anytime before WrestleMania next year? I personally can't see anyone beating him anytime soon. It's going to be after he beats The Rock at Mania 39. So let me ask you this.
Unless there's a cash in.
If Edge cashes in on Roman, how long is Edge going to have that title before Roman gets it back?
Oh, the next pay-per-view.
Oh, really? You think you'd be Edge versus Roman at SummerSlam if Edge cashes in at Money in the Bank?
Yeah. That's a pretty huge SummerSlam match.
It's a big SummerSlam match, yeah.
One-on-one, the match that we thought we were getting at Mania, and then we finally get it at SummerSlam.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. White Brownie MVP during a post-match interview said he has a surprise for Lashley tomorrow. What do you think it could be, and does it involve Drew? Maybe he's getting Lashley a new title because
this one's falling apart.
Yeah, it's falling apart.
That'd be dude. Bring back custom titles. They'll never do that, but bring back. I mean, what if it was just like as simple as it's the WWE title, but it's all gold. All of it's gold. Like I don't know what you could do with the strap necessarily, but make that gold too somehow. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe Edge like I said, maybe Edge cashes in on. What if Edge? It'd be great if Drew wins at Hell in a Cell. Edge cashes in at Money in the Bank with Drew and whoever he's fighting, and Edge cashes in on Drew instead.
We get Drew versus Edge at SummerSlam. Could be.
That might be more likely.
Dang MQ, with Seth's suit game being great, should others who wear suits like Sonya Deville follow the Seth template? Oh, Sonya Deville's got amazing suits.
She's doing great. I don't
think she has to follow anybody's template. No, her suits are amazing.
Yeah.
Dr. Lipkin, does Roman's shit talking to Daniel Bryan mean that DB has come to terms with WWE? No. Cesaro was Daniel Bryan's guy, his friend. So no, I don't think it means anything.
I would be shocked if it meant anything. I would actually think that it might mean that he might have come to terms as in signed a contract. I think it's possible. I don't know if they'd want to reference him if he had decided not to go, but they probably are confident they're going to re-sign him. Fear and Loathing, do we have zombies tonight because it's cheaper to pay extras than the loser locker room at pay-per-view appearance? No, it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with
movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, he seemed really fond of the days of like karate fighters when they would integrate certain things. They had like a karate fighter tournament or something like on a Raw or something like that.
Yame World, with the newfound resurgence in trading cards during the pandemic, you both find a collection of extremely rare and valuable trading cards from a variety of sport genres. What real-life wrestler would you choose to sell those cards on the black market? Why would you have to sell them on the black market?
Why would you have to do it on the black market?
You get them all graded, and you sell them for a massive profit.
Is there a caveat where they're hot? They're like stolen?
Oh, maybe.
In which case, I'm not sure any wrestler would have connections on the black market, but I don't know. Like in character or in kayfabe, maybe Paul Heyman. He talked about being a gangsta in his. I know he was being metaphorical, but in his wonderful New Jack eulogy. Let's see here.
Lipkin says Tyler Breeze is in the trading cards.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. Here we go. Tronin. Will they do double heel, though, with Seth and Roman? I would love to see Seth transition to like a tweener in that same character. I think if he stays in that character, people would eat it up. If he's like partially a good guy, just don't try to be yourself as a good guy. But if he's as that guy, I think people would like it.
I think if they I don't know if they'd be adverse to heel versus heel per se. I think they think that's the money match that people would want to see, then they'll do it, regardless if it's heel versus heel. Just so long as one is more of a heel, you know.
Well, yeah.
I think if Roman's more of a heel,
yeah. I mean, that would just by virtue of that, it would sort of make Seth, you know, the guy. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like Seth would have to turn somewhat. He would just stop putting people's arms in chairs if they're good guys. That's all it really takes. Just stop beating up on good guys. All right, one last one here from Diehard Homer. Does Roman have it in his contract that he can't be cashed in on? That's like Hogan status right there, man. I don't know if even Roman can get the Hogan contract. Anyways, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Twitch chat, stick around. We'll hang out for a bit. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.